This is a movie, and this is real life. The dark history of South Korea was something that not many people knew about. That is, until recently. A forgotten story resurfaced, shaking the public's understanding of what had really happened during the country's so-called development years. It was called the Brothers' Home. Some have called it South Korea's Holocaust. Others say it was the real-life Squid Game, because the similarities aren't just symbolic. They're almost identical. In Squid Game, people in desperate conditions are snatched away from their lives. They're thrown into an enclosed, secret world where their names are erased, their clothes are replaced with uniforms, and they're given a number instead of an identity. For many watching the show, that was just a clever dystopia. But for thousands of Koreans who lived through the 1970s and 80s, that was exactly what happened. People, children, the homeless, the disabled, or just those who looked unfit, were abducted off the streets by police or government workers. Many were thrown into black vans, never to be seen again. Parents searched, screamed, begged the police for help, only to be turned away, or worse, institutionalized themselves for causing a disturbance. That's what happened to one boy's father. He got drunk and cried at the police station trying to find his son, and for that, he was also sent to the brothers' home. Inside, there was no freedom, no compassion. Everyone was given the same uniform. Names were gone, replaced by numbers. Children worked in factories, building fishing rods or sewing products that generated millions in profit. Beatings were constant. Death was common. Those who disobeyed were chained, starved, or locked in cages. Some were forced to punish others, turning victim against victim, just like in the show. The guards, often inmates themselves, were brutal. And all of this took place under the guise of a Christian rehabilitation center run by a man who claimed he was appointed by the government, by the president himself. That man, Mr. Park, lived a lavish life funded by government grants and the labor of his prisoners. He had $2 million in cash stashed in his office. And yet many of the people in his camp had no shoes, no medicine, and no hope. He called it welfare. The victims called it hell. Like the games in the show, this wasn't just random cruelty. There was a system behind it, a reward system. Police were given bonuses and promotions for every person they cleaned off the streets. The goal was to make South Korea look clean for the 1988 Seoul Olympics. When a prosecutor stumbled upon the facility while hunting in the woods in 1986, he couldn't believe what he saw. Children in chains, guards with clubs, giant dogs trained to intimidate. But even after his investigation, even after the public outrage, the justice system only sentenced Mr. Park to 2.5 years in prison, and most of the charges were dropped. He died in 2016, a free man still wealthy, with no apology, no punishment. And for the victims, many never found their families again. Some were moved to other institutions under new names. Some ended up in psychiatric hospitals. Their childhoods stolen, their futures broken. It wasn't until 2012, 25 years later, that survivors began protesting publicly. They camped outside courthouses for over 900 days, demanding recognition, compensation, and justice. One survivor said, "I'm 37 now, but the story I'm telling you is from when I was 9. All I want is to feel normal again." But the government said the statute of limitations had expired. They offered no help, no support. To this day, many of these victims have never received a single apology. So when people say Squid Game is just fiction, they don't realize the numbers, the uniforms, the black vans, the isolation, the forced violence, the silence, all of that actually happened. Not in some distant dystopia, but right here in South Korea, in our lifetime. This wasn't a game. This was the brothers' home,